before we move in, do me a favor. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and tell me in the comments where you land on this. Is Caitlin Clark being lifted or crushed by a machine that can't stop saying her name? Is the Indiana Fever's offense actually set up to unlock a game, or are we all getting ahead of ourselves? Your take fuels this channel, and I'll feature the smartest comments in the next video. Here's the headline that detonated across women's basketball this week. Fever coach Stephanie White compared Caitlin Clark to Taylor Swift 2.0. That sounds like a celebration on its face. It wasn't. White's tone made that crystal clear. Her point wasn't about music, celebrity, or fan bases. It was about the avalanche of attention that spills into every conversation, whether it has anything to do with Clark or not. Her name gets thrown into a lot of conversations that have nothing to do with her. White said, the frustration in that sentence was a tell. It sounded less like hype and more like a warning flare. The environment around Caitlin Clark is reaching a point that's hard for any 23-year-old to carry. Within hours of those comments, sports books took their own swing at the narrative. FanDuel and BetMGM posted early 2026 WNBA MVP odds, and Clark debuted at number 2, only behind Afisa Collier, with Aya Wilson right there. Think about that. Clark hasn't played a full professional season, yet the market is already projecting her into the league's most prestigious individual award race 2 years out. If you're Stephanie White, that's part of the problem. The MVP odds aren't malicious. They're a symptom. They show how often and how easily Clark's name is leveraged to drive clicks, segments, and conversation, regardless of what's actually happening on the court in Indiana. Let's be honest about the scale. An economist estimated that during her rookie season, Clark accounted for roughly 1 in 6 tickets sold across the league. Read that again. In every city, in every building, the Clark effect turned road dates into virtual home games for the Fever. That's not normal. It's not even rare. It's unprecedented. And it's not just seats. The league's media rights deal jumped from $60 million to a package expected to land in the $220 to $260 million range when all platforms are counted. That kind of growth doesn't happen by accident. It happens when someone arrives who pulls in non-fans, casual fans, and the curious all at once. If that sounds familiar, it should. That's exactly how Tiger Woods changed golf. People who didn't know a birdie from an eagle tuned in to watch Tiger. Over time, they learned the rest of the field because they were already there. Stephanie White made that connection herself when she put Clark in the same attention sphere as LeBron James, Serena Williams, Tiger Woods, and yes, Taylor Swift. That's not hyperbole. It's a factual description of how many circles Clark's name now travels in, and how often it's used as a signal boost in stories that never asked for her. But there's a cost to that. White said out loud, this isn't simply about popularity. It's about who controls the story and who doesn't. Every tweet with her name in it, every hot take that mentions Clark in a headline for SEO, every spin on a league-wide issue using her as a hook, stacks another layer of noise on top of an actual human who just wants to hoop. White's comparison to Swift wasn't about celebrity worship. It was about the economics of attention and what that does to the person at the center of it. And here's where the tension lives. The same gravitational pull that's swelling the WNBA's audience is also making life harder inside the Fever's building. A coach's job is to protect the locker room and build a system that works for her personnel. A marketing department's job is to maximize engagement. Those agenda lines used to be parallel. With Clark, they collide. Every practice clip is dissected. Every substitution becomes a referendum. Every comment triggers a cycle. Managing basketball in that environment is a different profession. That brings us to the on-court part of this conversation, because that's where a lot of skepticism started. The Fever's offense, at times, has been erratic. It's fair to say the early product didn't always entertain. Fans don't tune in just for numbers and noise. They want to be moved. That blunt reaction, I was entertained, is not a personal attack. It's a consumer response. And in a league that is finally pushing into prime-time windows with historically high reach, how the game looks matters. System fit is a real concern. Clark's skill set was meticulously developed at Iowa in an offense built around her range, pace, and vision. In the WNBA, everything tightens. The paint shrinks, switches come faster, and defenses are more physical at the point of attack. Clark will adjust. Great players always do. But what about the system around her? Is Indiana creating the right spacing, screening angles, and read progressions to leverage her playmaking at the WNBA tempo? That's where the Christie Sides era comparisons creep in, until the Fever show a consistent offensive identity that amplifies Clark's strengths and reduces her burden. Skepticism is not hate, it's analysis. Now layer the odds back on. The Fever are already being pegged among title favorites at plus 350 alongside perennial juggernauts like the Aces and the Liberty. Clark's mere presence has shifted the market's view of Indiana from rebuilding to contenders. That is a heavy crown for a roster that still has real questions to answer. The pressure on the coaching staff is obvious. The pressure on the player is suffocating if you let it be. The conclusion writes itself. The microscope isn't going anywhere. The Fever have to learn to operate under it. You can feel how that plays out in White's voice. Last week on a radio spot, Query and Company, she called out how Clark's name is being used by people as a pawn in their own games. She doubled down a few days later on the team's own Fever Insider podcast. That's not an offhand comment. That's a deliberate message on multiple platforms. Enough. Respect the person under the athlete. Respect the work. Stop treating her name like a coupon code. At the same time, there's no getting around what Clark brings. The road crowds, the jersey sales, the road to home game atmosphere, the streaming spikes. Those are facts. The league's financial boom is real, and the Fever benefit from it. Those two truths will always live together. That's what makes White's job so complicated, and why her comments hit such a nerve. She's not trying to put the genie back in the bottle. She's trying to draw a circle around a 23-year-old so she can breathe. The comparisons that she invoked, LeBron, Serena, Tiger, also tells you what lies ahead. We've been here before in other sports. When LeBron came into the league in 2003, social media as we know it didn't exist. If it had, daily discourse would have looked exactly like this. LeBron didn't just lift the NBA's business. He rewired it. Serena didn't just dominate tennis. She opened it to audiences that had ignored it. Tiger didn't just win majors. He quadrupled purses and set TV records. That's the neighborhood Clark is living in. It's incredible company and a brutal standard. There's another piece people overlook. The economic impact at the local level. One visiting player shouldn't be able to spike a market this way, but Clark did. Teams that never had to plan for sellouts suddenly had to scale. Arena staffs that were used to midweek traffic had to treat every date like a playoffs date. Hotels, bars, rideshare apps benefited too. That's real money in local economies. It also creates resentment in pockets of the league. Resentment that often spills into the most available outlet, social media commentary. Coaches feel it in post-game questions. Players feel it in their mentions. That turbulence is now part of doing business. Back to the core basketball question. Is it fair to judge fit this early? Only to the extent that the tape shows it. Clark will acclimate to WNBA pace and space. She's too smart not to. Her off-ball shooting gravity is already elite. Defenders hug her 28 feet from the rim, warping assignments. Indiana has to weaponize that with better weak side action, misdirections, and second side triggers. The Fever also need to clean their defensive coverages, so Clark isn't constantly playing uphill after misses and turnovers. Fix those, and the entertainment factor rises naturally, because the game will breathe. On the media side, the MVP odds are flashy, but they're not the story. They're the byproduct of a story. Odds exist to generate handle. Handle exists because interest exists. Interest exists because attention exists. And attention exists because Clark is a generational passer and shot maker who plays with visible joy and competitive fire. That's what drew people in at Iowa. That's what brought them here. The question now is whether the Fever can translate her gifts into wins consistently enough to keep the story anchored in basketball. What role does White play in that? She's a steward. She doesn't have to like the spotlight that now follows every rotation choice or after timeout set. She does have to manage it. The comment about Taylor Swift 2.0 were less about pop stardom and more about setting boundaries. White is trying to pull the conversation back to the gym, back to film, back to spacing, back to reads. A coach's best act of protection is to create a system her star can trust. The fastest way to blunt a media whirlwind is to present a team that's so well organized on both ends that the only conversation left is about basketball. Here's where the future comes into focus. The WNBA has never had this much momentum. The league is no longer asking for a seat at the table. It's rearranging the chairs. Primetime windows, charter flights, sponsorship categories that used to ignore women's sports. They're all shifting. That's the macro picture. The micro picture is a young guard trying to execute a side pick and roll, while two cameras point at her from the tunnel, and a betting app pushes a notification to a million phones. Both pictures can coexist, but only if the adults in the room set the terms. If you're looking for a bottom line, it's this. Stephanie White's frustration is real, and it's not just about noise. It's about care. It's about a coach who sees a young star getting treated as a commodity at the exact moment she needs the space to develop. It's also about accountability. The Fever have to be better offensively. Clark's rookie season gave us glimpses of what this can be. The next step has to bring sustained structure that leans into her strengths and protects her weaknesses. Meanwhile, the industry will continue to do what it does. Post odds, cut highlight clips, flood timelines. You can't stop that. You can only balance it. The task for Indiana, and for the WNBA more broadly, is to turn this once-in-a-generation surge of attention into something sustainable, something that serves a game and not just metrics. So here's my challenge to you. Are we asking too much of Caitlin Clark too soon? Are the Fever taking the right steps to build an offense worthy of the player they have? And how should the league help stars navigate a spotlight this bright without losing the joy that got them here? Drop your thoughts below. If you're new here, hit subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss our next breakdown on the Fever's offensive evolution, the latest TV ratings surge, and what the new media deal really means for player salaries. If you found this useful, hit like. It helps more fans find real conversations about the WNBA. And to Caitlin Clark, wherever you are, keep hooping. The court, not the clicks, is where the story should live.